All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Psych Opinion. You're probably getting used to this duo here. This is the Jen and Jake duo happening. Everybody else was busy this evening, and that's why it's good that we have multiple people on this show so that the show can go on. We were talking about different topics to do, and Jen actually came up with this great idea. I think this is fabulous. With the holidays coming up and Thanksgiving especially, we decided to do one of the seven sins here, one of the classics, gluttony. So, with that being said, kind of a little bit of background on this, and then we're going to discuss it a little bit because I think that this is actually kind of interesting. Some of the stuff here is gluttony is defined as excess in eating and drinking. Although eating and drinking for pleasure is not seen as sinful, eating or drinking to excess beyond reason is a sin. Drunkenness, which is caused by excessive consumption of intoxicating beverages, is considered a type of gluttony. Eating outside of a prescribed time, with mindless eating, anticipating eating with preoccupied longing, consuming costly foods, eating lavishly, simply for the purpose of conspicuous consumption, not being content with common foods, always seeking delicacies, or perhaps supersizing, those things are all considered by definition to be gluttony, which I think is really interesting because it's not just until you really dive into a word sometimes, you don't really necessarily think about its meaning as a whole, as a big picture. And that's kind of what I was interested in when I started looking up gluttony when we decided to do this, is that gluttony, when you think about it, you're just like overeating, just obesity, kind of that sort of thing. And while that is a lot of what gluttony is and has kind of become as our sort of more common description, it is also, like I just described, consuming costly foods, eating lavishly, all the time, you know, uh, supersizing, things like that, thinking about food all the time, eating food all the time, uh, you know,
Um, it could also be consuming anything
yeah,
to the point of waste, even because some people, if they eat like a whole lot, they're actually like taking away from others. Um,
yeah, and
so
that's and
there's
that's
that
it
too.
too, and it's
Consuming
even,
in
yeah,
general.
and the term is even a little bit broader than that. Like if you think about some of the terms, like a glutton for punishment,
Hmm.
it's just taking all of the punishment, just all of it, and sort of that's really where we're at with gluttony, like you had just said. And I'm sorry that I cut you off, but yeah, just really interestingly, sort of just partaking in anything to excess really is gluttony. I mean,
Mhm.
and I like what you said there as far as like, especially to the point of being wasteful.
Yeah.
I don't think you can waste punishment, but in particular, so it's interesting because greed is a sin, but greed in a way is almost like gluttony. I mean, in
Yes.
itself. And that's another part of this whole thing that I thought was interesting is how some of the sins, it's like you can almost like double dip or triple dip in some of these sins, I mean,
Triple dip.
being extremely lustful, I would consider would be gluttonous.
Mhm.
And then being slothful, of course, is pretty similar to gluttony as well, because gluttony can cause you to be slothful,
Hmm. Good point.
and yeah, and the fact that a lot of people get obese and they get lazy and they stop
Mhm.
moving around so much and doing that kind of thing. Um,
I am.
so
Oh, I was just gonna say I'm really glad that you brought up how greed and gluttony are kind of like intertwined. Because I was also thinking the same thing when we chose this topic. Um, I immediately like thought to myself, what is the difference between greed and gluttony? And I had looked up both definitions, like trying to figure out exactly because I thought that they were like so closely, related.
yeah,
Um, and I think it's interesting that both are related to like desire of using more or consuming more and more, but they also both deal with like waste, but in different ways.
yeah,
Um, so greed is where they I wrote it in my notes. Hold on. Um, is the desire to take from others, usually money or material things. Greed is also wanting things for the sake of having them. And you can also just acquire like so many things and never use them. Like that is a lot of what greed is too. Like they're not even
yeah, and
actually using that stuff.
and that would be kind of considered waste.
Exactly.
So the
They both have waste.
maybe you're not physically like eating and consuming these things, but you are collecting these things, which is a type of
Yeah,
consumption, in
exactly.
my opinion, which makes it very interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think that gluttony, if anything, it's actually, I've kind of thought about it a little bit more because realistically, I don't think that a lot of the sins, or especially like the modern way of looking at a lot of the seven deadly sins, I don't think that they're necessarily bad until you become gluttonous, which is interesting because it's almost like gluttony, and I never thought about this until we started talking about this topic, but it's almost like gluttony is the like Mac Daddy of the sins. Because if you think about it, it's like pride. Is pride really a bad thing? There's nothing wrong with
Can
a little
be.
pride. But pride to excess is
Right.
what we're talking about, is when it becomes a negative.
Mm-hmm.
That excess part is kind of where we get into the gluttony.
Mm-hmm.
Lust. I mean, everybody has some kind of lust. Nobody on this planet has ever lived their whole lives without looking at something and being like, I want that. That's beautiful. Whether it be someone of the opposite sex or even collecting things, which goes into greed. But that doesn't matter. It's not that bad until it's excessive. And
Right.
I mean, in that sense, you're kind of talking almost like hoarding shit, in my opinion,
Mm-hmm.
like the hoarders, if you've ever seen that kind of thing. Envy, we're all a little envious. I don't think envy is necessarily a bad thing unless it consumes you. Consumes consumption,
Yeah.
gluttony. Um, you know, wrath. Wrath is not great most of the time.
Yeah.
I mean, not, even a little bit of wrath goes a long way. Um, but especially to excess. But I would say wrath is probably the one that I would see the least connected to gluttony. But it's just interesting because I kind of see them all under the umbrella almost of gluttony. It's basically like these are the things you shouldn't do, but they're especially bad in excess.
Right.
And
That's a good point.
I don't know. That was an interesting thought that I had because I was like, okay, well, it's pride really so bad? I mean, if even greed on a small level, I mean, wanting things, wanting to do well for yourself, wanting to enjoy some of the finer things, is that so bad? But, when it's excessive and become greedy,
One of the things I think that keeps a lot of people from God is we think that God has prohibited joy, right? He has all of these no's, these big things he says no to. And so it seems like, at first glance, well, I don't know if I want to follow God, because it seems like everything that I want to do, everything that brings me joy, he says no to.
Anyway, you get the point. I don't need to
Yeah.
drag it on or beat the dead horse, but I just thought that was
What
really kind of cool.
what is your what is your vice out of all the seven deadly sins?
Oh man.
The main one.
If I had to be honest about it, I would probably almost say that I am guilty the most of probably gluttony. I mean, I'm a foodie. I enjoy, if I had the money, I would eat fine food all the time. I mean, I still would probably have a hot dog and stuff, but I mean, like, I do enjoy those things, and I mean, just being kind of gluttonous in general. I mean, I do feel like I'm a little, I get a little obsessive. I mean, I'm a little one-track minded. I get a little like, hey, I'm gonna start collecting this. Well, I can't
Yeah.
have just this. I need
You are
every
very
one
much a
of
collector.
this. Yeah, I'm a huge collector.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if that would put me in necessarily greed or gluttony. I mean, I guess I'm kind of in that cusp, but I don't really consider myself to be a greedy person. I'm a very generous person, like money
Mhm.
wise, financially. I have no problem sharing with people. I have no problem giving.
Yeah.
So I would probably say maybe just the collecting might be more gluttonous than anything else. But yeah, I get a little obsessive.
Mhm.
What about you? Have you thought about that? What do you think you're the most guilty of?
um, I mean, at times I would say sometimes I'm like a little bit of a sloth. But I don't think that's my main one. I just think sometimes I can be a little lazy.
Yeah,
Like as soon as I get home, I just don't want to do anything.
I don't think that's
um,
it though. I mean, if you're going with that, I think everybody needs a
well, that's
break
not the
during the
one.
day. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
everybody needs a little nap from time to time. Everybody needs a break.
Yeah.
You can't even be mad at that.
I think my main one is probably pride.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I just really dug in and gave you some examples. What do you got? Like, why would you say that's yours?
Oh gosh, I hadn't thought about examples. Um, I don't know. Like, I mean, I could talk about work, but I don't want to. But there's something that I'll try to make it kind of vague. Um, there's something that I do at work that I know I shouldn't, but I do it anyway because I actually have this weird thing where I'm a little bit obsessive compulsive. And I take pride in my work. And if it's going to take longer but look better, I'm going to do that even if I don't get paid for
Yeah.
it. Because I want it to look
Yeah.
right. I think that has something to do with pride.
So would you say like you maybe like care about how people feel about your work or about things that you do? I
You'd
mean,
think that, but I'm not getting any feedback because of the way my job is set up. I don't get any feedback on like, oh, that's a good job, like that looks great. Like, no, there is no manager like coming around and saying that looks awesome. There's nobody like emailing me or talking to me on the phone about you did a great job on that one or anything.
so you're not
So
even getting the
this
praise
is
of this.
self satisfaction.
Okay. I mean, I think in a situation like that, that could be definitely prideful because I mean, you're
Mm-hmm.
going above and beyond for absolutely no recognition.
Yep.
Um, I
Only
think a
my
lot of
own
people,
recognition.
yeah, which is the opposite of being slothly, I think.
Well, I have my moments though.
Yeah, but like I
Have my
said, I
moments.
mean, sometimes I come home for my lunch break and take a 20-minute nap. I mean, because
Mm.
I just want one. I
Yeah.
mean, but I don't feel it. I don't feel like I'm a lazy person by any means. I'm a very, if anything, I'm like over active about getting stuff done because I like to feel accomplished. So I mean, I would say I'm
Yeah.
not a lazy person, but I definitely love a nap.
Well, here it
Hey,
comes.
I'm watching you. Thank you.
You got it. I'll get that done ASAP.
Bye-bye.
All right, pal. You know what to do. Only got an hour. Gotta get to snapping. Only got 40 minutes. Really gotta sleep. Come on. Can't get comfortable. Come on. to get caught up on my shows.
Identity theft is not a joke, Jim.
They're still watching? Obviously. Just need a quick little kitty cat nap. Wow. Oh, that felt great. I'm really gonna need a nap tomorrow.
Well, there's nothing wrong
So-
with that.
So I mean,
I'm not saying that naps are bad.
well, it's kind of a lazy thing to do, you know. I'm a regular
Actually,
napper.
I actually do not take naps almost ever. But that doesn't mean that I'm not lazy. Like I'd rather, play video games or watch a movie than do housework. Here lately, I've not been doing very much housework.
Well,
So been lazy.
maybe you should take more pride in your housework.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, I'll even give you recognition. You know, if I notice anything cleaner in the background there. Not that it's anything messy. The background looks fine, but yeah, okay. I mean, I could see pride being that way. Too bad we don't have the other guys on here. I would love to hear their sins.
I know. I wanted to know theirs.
I don't know. I think Steve might be a little. He might be pride. I could see him being a little wrathy. I could see that.
I
I
wonder
think
how
Rob
they're gonna
is
feel about you talking about it.
Oh, I'm good. I mean,
Yeah.
if anything, they can correct me on the next show. I'd be happy to
Oh.
explain my thoughts on it. I don't know. I would almost say that knowing all of us, I would say that we were all probably a little lustful when we were younger. I can't speak to that as much as this ripe age, but it's definitely back in the day.
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's see. I don't know. It's interesting. Liza, I don't know if I could really put one on her there.
What did you say Rob was? I didn't hear it.
Rob, I feel like he's probably maybe on the slothy or gluttony
Aw.
train.
Because of the naps. He does take a lot of naps. He likes to sleep, but I've seen him at work, and I think he's
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot. I think he's a lot like me. It's like when he
He-
gets home, he probably doesn't do anything, and then when he's at work, he is on full speed ahead, doing stuff all the time.
That is true. I mean, and he is realistically always kind of around other people, hanging out with people. So I don't know. Maybe not slothful. Maybe he is more of a glutton. You guys are definitely gluttons for punishment, as the saying goes, because most people aren't working as hard as you guys are for nothing. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, but I really want some kind of recognition.
Yeah.
So some of the other things that I found here was gluttony induces laziness that brings forth poverty. So that was kind of interesting, sort of leading into the slothiness, as I was kind of saying earlier. See, these are all a lot of this revolves around God, because these things are a rebellion of God, because it takes away your concentration and your focus of God. And I think that's why the seven sins were kind of designed, because all of them kind of hand in hand go against, sort of takes away your true vision of God, your needing God in your life and Jesus and all that stuff.
But here's the interesting thing. The more closely we look at this, we realize that God has not prohibited joy. God wants us to enjoy good things in good ways. He wants us to enjoy the right things in the right way. Our problem is this. Our problem is we actually need these rules, these laws that God gives us, because we don't know how to enjoy ourselves. I mean, how many times have you been in the kind of situation where you found something you liked? I like nacho cheese Doritos. The first couple, you're like, oh my gosh, this is insane. This is so good. And then all of a sudden you get to the bottom of a family-sized bag and you think, what happened with the rest of these Doritos? And why am I not enjoying them? Here's what happens. When we don't have the ability to say no, we don't have the ability to enjoy the right things and in the right way. We don't actually have the ability to enjoy stuff. We end up having two things. One is we don't enjoy life, and we become slaves to something. This is actually the rarely confessed sin of gluttony, or the sin of intemperance, right? Gluttony is, I don't know how to say no. Intemperance is, I'm not able to say no to the right thing at the wrong time, or the wrong thing at any time. I can't say no to myself.
Yeah, like he's supposed to be the main focus instead of all these other things that a
yeah,
lot of other
gluttony.
people focus on.
It's a visible expression of rebellion against God.
Oh,
Yeah. So, other examples of gluttons would be like drunkards, you know. There's also, let's see, in the Middle Ages developed more extensive view of gluttony. St. Thomas Aquinas, Thomas Aquinas, sure. I'm not Latin. So he
can't help
emphasized,
you.
yeah, he emphasized a list of 5 ways to commit gluttony, which is lout, which is eating food that is too luxurious, exotic, or costly. I don't know why that's necessarily a problem. If people have the money and they want to have caviar, like, so be it. I mean, I don't know.
I think it's because you don't really need it. Like it's a luxury, and if you indulge in that luxury like so much that it's just it in a way it is kind of wasteful because there's so many other people that are starving. That's that's a thing.
Okay.
That
Yeah, I mean, that's true. In that case, like, we're all, greedy. I guess we could all
yeah.
give a little up. There was,
We're all a little privileged if you compare us to some other people that don't have much at all.
well, that is a very sweet thing for you to say because that does make us feel like we should be very grateful, which has a lot to do with
Yes,
Thanksgiving.
that's right.
So we're bringing it back around. Um, Studios, eating food that is excessive in quality, too daintily or elaborately prepared.
So like fine dining or gourmet or is that what
I
it?
guess. I guess that'd kind of be like the gourmet, like too daintily or elaborately prepared.
Yeah. Well, that makes me think of the
Um,
menu.
yeah, I was just about to say that really makes me think of the menu, how they had the tweezers, and we're going to talk
Yeah.
about the menu a little bit more because I
Little
thought
bit,
that was a good one for this. There's nemes, which is eating food that is excessive in quantity, which is too much. Prey pour pair, mindless eating, too soon or at inappropriate times.
What does
Ardentaire.
it mean? What does that mean? An appropriate time. Sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, it's all good. Mindless
That
eating
was
too
weird.
soon or at an appropriate time. I think what they're basically getting at is like hobbits. Hobbits have
Oh,
like first breakfast, second breakfast, third
second
breakfast,
breakfast.
along. Yeah, like
No.
What about breakfast?
You've already had it.
We've had one, yes. What about second breakfast? Don't think he knows about second breakfast, Pip. What about elevensies? Luncheon, afternoon tea, dinner, supper. He knows about them, doesn't he?
I wouldn't count on it.
Pippin!
Don't say that the second breakfast is bad.
it's gluttonous. It's a very gluttonous thing to do.
It is, I guess.
It, when you're eating 15 times a day, which that's also interesting because one of the new fads of diets, well, not necessarily new, but years ago, is they were starting to tell us, hey, instead of having 3 big meals, you should be eating like 6 small meals.
Yeah.
What's eating 6 small meals? The proportion is obviously right, but that would be at an inappropriate time, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I guess so.
Because I think for
Who's
us,
who's telling us the appropriate time though?
well, I think as being American and being on the East Coast, not really that it matters that we're on the East Coast because you just change it for whatever time zone you're in. But being American, I think that our appropriate time would kind of be breakfast is somewhere between 6 or when you wake up and probably 9 or 10.
Yeah.
And then lunch, typically I think is enjoyed between 11 o'clock and like 1 o'clock.
Mm.
And then dinner, is a little bit trickier, but that's usually kind of that 5, 6, 6:30, after work kind of mark.
Yeah.
But,
So, oh, go ahead.
other culture, I was going to say other cultures. I know that there's certain cultures, and I don't want to be wrong by pointing one out, but I know this for a fact that some cultures, it's not abnormal to eat at 9, 10 o'clock at night for dinner.
Mm. Like
You know,
before they go to bed? think that's bad.
Well, they might stay up later than us.
Hmm. Oh, I was gonna say that would mean that brunch is bad.
Yeah,
And a lot of people have brunch. I've never
brunch.
been much of a brunch girl,
Now is
but
brunch. I mean, brunch is at
I
an
like a
inappropriate
mimosa.
time. Yeah, well, everybody loves a mimosa.
Yeah.
Now, brunch may be an inappropriate time, but if you don't eat breakfast or lunch and you just kind of have brunch, I mean, really, I guess the only thing that dings you on that is the inappropriate time because
Mm,
you're not eating too much. If anything, you're eating one less meal.
right.
But the ardent tier was the last one. That was eating greedily, or too eagerly,
Mm.
which I also think is kind of silly because, man, there's some things I get excited about. Like I'll think about all day long. Like there's like certain restaurants if we decide we're gonna go to that night, like I'll be thinking about that all day at work. And that was one of the other things that was like thinking about food too much is
Oh,
gluttonous, if
crap.
you
Okay,
will.
I do that. I think about food a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I know you and we have a lot of conversations. We're both kind of foodies. We both love food, and I know that
Yeah.
that's kind of, you know, something that we share and enjoy a lot. Um, glutton can describe anybody who demands more pleasure from something than is spiritually or physically healthy. That's interesting. Spiritually or physically healthy. As a person can be called a glutton for punishment, as I said, or a glutton for praise.
Mm,
In that case, of someone who is achievement driven.
mhm.
Um, I don't know. I've met people like that. I've spent a lot of years of my life being a manager in different places, and you get a lot of people that every single thing they do, they're just like, "Isn't this great? Isn't this great? Isn't this awesome? Look at this! Look what I did! Isn't that great? Isn't that great?" And you're like, "Yeah, man, you're doing your job. That's exactly. You're definitely meeting the standard. So great, thank
Mm.
you." Not that I'm knocking anybody like that. I mean, of course, people like praise, except for obviously
Oh,
you,
yeah.
because you just do it anyway.
Well, I was actually just about to say, yeah. I, I mean, I got some praise when I was growing up, but I didn't get a whole lot. So this job is
Just like
kind of
growing
was
up.
just like that. It's just like my childhood.
It's like, damn, this job reminds me of my parents as a child, doing all this stuff and nobody cares. But if you don't do this stuff, you're sure as hell gonna get a,
Yeah.
talking to.
But I am very, very disappointed in each and every one of you. This is not some stinking junior high where you can run around all willy-nilly. You people are paid a salary to be professional. This company will not tolerate unprofessional attitudes or anything of the sort.
I mean, it's definitely that'd make you a glutton for punishment. At that point, if you just stop doing it.
Yeah.
So anyway, obviously, in the theme of, did you have anything else that you wanted to talk about with gluttony as far as the ideology
Mm,
behind it?
sort of. Um, there is something that I prepared because, like I said, when we first chose this topic, I was like interested in the difference between greed and gluttony.
Yes.
And I wrote a little example of each,
Right,
and
it's
it's
a poem.
not exactly a poem, no. Um, that would be cool though. Maybe I should
Yeah,
do that.
you should have done that.
Yeah. Um, but it is Thanksgiving related. If you'd like to
Nice.
hear it.
I would love to hear it. That's what we're all about here today. We are talking about, we're leading up to Thanksgiving, is what we're doing.
Yeah. Also, I just wanted to say, make a note of the names that I give the character.
Okay.
So, this is an example of one of them. It's Thanksgiving dinner. Your Aunt Veruca
Ah, already with you.
starts, yep, starts to help herself to the turkey. She keeps taking more and more until there is no turkey left for anyone. The turkey is piled high on her plate, and she will not let anyone go near her plate. She is happy knowing that she has all the turkey to herself, but she barely eats any. She just lets it sit there, going to waste. Meanwhile, she is thinking of acquiring more of the other foods at the table, while the other family members have less food now and are very upset. Aunt Veruca doesn't care because it doesn't affect her. She got satisfaction from claiming more of the meal. This is greed.
That is greed.
Yep.
So,
There's more, but I can wait.
okay. No, because I don't want to. I'd rather hear more because I don't want to go into what I was about to say without hearing where you're going.
Oh, okay. Well, I was gonna do one for gluttony.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Is it similar, like a comparison?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I want.
Yep.
Yeah, let's do
Um,
that.
so now we're at a different Thanksgiving dinner because it'd be too hard to have them both at the same table. So I have dinner different.
Now, is this the same
different Thanksgiving.
family?
Let's say no, not in this case.
Okay. No, this is different. Okay, different
Yeah.
family.
Um, so now we're at a different Thanksgiving dinner with Uncle Augustus.
Oh, Augustus.
The family starts to eat the sumptuous meal. However, Augustus starts grabbing every bit of food like a ravenous animal, gorging every morsel until there is nothing left but bones on empty plates. The family is shocked. They have nothing left to eat. Uncle Augustus moves on to eating everything in the kitchen until it is bare. At this point, the family is crying and is angry. Their uncle leaves the house. After surveying, there is nothing left. On the way home, he stops at McDonald's and orders the full menu because he has an insatiable hunger and finds pleasure in consuming more and more. This is gluttony.
That's good. I like both of those a lot. I love your examples. I love your wording. Insatiable and sumptuous are very
Yeah.
fun words.
They're some of my favorite
Um,
words.
So I love that. I actually really like that you prepared for that. I think that was great. And it really does show it because that's what I was going to say after you read the greed one. I was going to say now if she ate all that, that would be gluttonous.
Yeah.
But to just have it and not even care about necessarily consuming it, I could see that being greed.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. And I definitely love the names because I
That's my favorite part.
pictured literally
Like an
Willy
older
Wonka.
version.
Yeah. Like I
of the
pictured an
kids
older
in
version,
Willy
like
Wonka.
I want more. I want
Exactly.
more. Give it to me. I want more, Daddy. And then just I pictured a older Augustus just.
Yeah.
I
Exactly.
mean, it was very. I like that because you really gave me some visuals there for that. So that was awesome.
Hopefully everybody has seen Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory or read the book or whatever.
Yeah, and that book obviously in Roald Dahl fashion, being the amazing writer that he is. I mean, he really portrayed a beautiful picture in his story, which was put into film of greed and gluttony, and that was one of the examples
Several
I was
other.
actually going to use.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, and I feel like Willy Wonka is always fair to talk about on the show, and a lot of times we do get away from horror. But Willy Wonka, it really does kind of have a dark side to it. So, I mean,
Definitely.
I wouldn't put it away as not being even a little bit horror based on our definition
Mhm.
of horror. So,
Oh, it definitely has a dark side. And of course,
yeah.
there's the boat ride too. The boat ride was kind of creepy.
Yeah. I mean, Willy Wonka himself, he's almost like a serial killer, really.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, these kids are just getting like sucked into tubes and all this other crazy crap blown up into the air. Yeah.
He seemed kind of manic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like at times he would seem kind of manic or bipolar or something. I don't know.
Yeah. No, and absolutely. And even Johnny Depp played him that way, which sucked. But I mean, Gene Wilder just such a bright light in movie history as Willy Wonka.
No one could do better.
I give the guy so much. So I can't say for a fact that you have seen all of these movies, and I can tell you for a fact there's a couple of them that I haven't seen. But I did look. When I was looking this up, I went to Reddit. Well, I Googled and was brought to Reddit, and I was kind of curious as to what people out there like when you say, "Hey, what are movies about gluttony? Like, what are you thinking?"
Yeah.
And I got a list of the most
I did
popular
too.
ones. I kept seeing over and over and over again people talking about these are gluttonous movies. Okay.
I can add to your list too if you don't have any that I have.
Yeah, absolutely. We can definitely compare. And
Okay.
what I wanted to kind of do is almost not necessarily play a game, but kind of give you some of these, and I want to know if you feel like they really fit into the gluttonous role or not.
Mm.
Obviously, if you haven't seen them, you may not know as much, but the ones that you have seen. Um, so one of the first ones that was on there was Jaws.
Oh, Jaws.
Yeah, a lot of people said Jaws. I was kind of
Okay.
taking what I have here is a list of what they were saying the most. I kind of grabbed
Mhm.
the ones that I kept seeing repeated. So Jaws was on the list multiple times. And
Hmm. That
what do
one
you
I
think of
wouldn't
that?
automatically think of. Yeah, interesting.
Well,
I'm trying
first
to
of all,
remember. I'm trying to remember how that fits into that category. Was there
well,
consumerism in that? It's been a
not
long time.
really. So what I think that they're thinking about in Jaws is I think they're thinking about the shark. And
Okay.
they said Jaws,
Well,
and they're thinking about the shark.
so
So my
any animal that's trying to eat you is
well, he did eat in
gluttony.
excess. Like he would.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
it's like not a little bit wasn't enough, and I think that that's a common theme in shark movies, in general, because they'll eat somebody and then come right back for
Oh.
somebody else. But
Okay.
first, I've got a couple of questions I'd like to pose to you about this particular one. Is gluttony a tool of conscious?
Hmm.
So what I'm saying, or what I'm meaning by that, is like, is it man-made, like gluttony? Like realistically, if an animal, even if an animal did eat to, say, excess, whether it was because they were saving it for later, or maybe they're like bears, where they kind of just pack on the fat and then go hibernate, kind of
Mhm.
thing. Like, would a bear be gluttonous? Because realistically, I mean, the bear's just following nature, as would I think Jaws and being a
Yeah.
killer shark in this movie, without the actual conscious, in my opinion, of wanting necessarily. I mean, I think there's a lot more thought being a human, if you will.
Mhm.
Like as far as like, I like this cake, so I'm gonna keep eating it, and I'm making the choice to eat cake. Whereas an animal like Jaws, he's got first of all whatever's there. He can't go
Yeah.
out and choose cake, even if he wanted it. And second of all, with there not being
Yeah.
that conscious stream of thought, is it really even gluttonous?
That's a good point. Um, because like when I think about, I'm gonna use the bear because I don't really know that much about sharks and the way they work or whatever. But with bears, they like hibernate, and
Yeah,
for sure it would be like instinct to like
yeah,
eat
absolutely.
more at a certain
Instinct.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
that would, so would
yeah.
you, so, I mean, I wouldn't consider that to be gluttonous. I'd consider that to be their nature.
Right. I
So,
agree.
I mean, so honestly, Jaws was one I kind of disagreed with. And I was
Mm.
kind of seeing where you were on that.
Yeah.
I didn't really feel like Jaws was a very gluttonous movie. I
I
think
thought he was more angry and he was like trying to just kill people and not really like necessarily eating. I don't know. It's been
yeah,
a while since I watched the movie, but I thought it was more about that he was angry.
I watch Jaws
So,
quite often, and I would say that it definitely fits more into the wrath category if I had to pick
yeah.
a sin.
Mhm.
I don't see it as much as, yeah, I mean, I really don't see it being in any other categories as much as Wrath, honestly.
Yeah.
Um, so the next one, I don't know if you've seen this, but this is one of my more recent kind of favorite movies. Like out of all the movies I've seen recently, this one is one of my, like, I really, really like this movie, and that's Fresh.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we talked about
Yeah.
Fresh once.
Um, so what is your thoughts on Fresh?
Ah, well, let's see. In this context,
Yeah.
well, he was uh, taking bits of flesh from women
Mhm.
and selling them to like super rich people
Yeah.
as like a delicacy kind of thing.
Yeah.
So for sure, yeah, I could definitely see gluttony there.
Yeah, I think Fresh is a great example of gluttony. I 100% agree with Fresh as a gluttonous movie.
Yes.
Um, the next one that was up here, and I haven't seen this movie in years. Rob loves this movie. I think Rob was even excited to talk about this movie, but The Blob.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that movie since I was a kid, quite honestly. So if you want to weigh in on that, that'd be very
Um,
helpful.
I mean, it's been a little while since I've watched that one myself. I don't really, I don't really get that much gluttony vibes with that movie. I mean, I get what he's probably thinking. The blob itself is probably like is gluttonous because it keeps consuming the people.
Yeah.
So I get that, but I think that there's an actually better example of gluttony in a different movie that's very similar, and it could be on your list.
Okay.
It's also from the 80s. It was one of my favorites growing up, but I have not seen it in forever. But it's called The Stuff. Have you heard of a movie called The Stuff?
I have not.
Okay, so it's not on your list.
That's not on my list.
Wow.
I did see
Nobody
people
on
that
Reddit said?
I did see people. I saw stuff up there a couple times, but I don't think it was
Yeah.
mentioned as much as a lot of these were.
Mm,
And on top of that, I didn't really know what it was. So,
yeah.
but like, tell us a little bit
That
about it. Like, what is?
that one for sure is about consumerism, and eating to excess.
Hmm,
It is very similar to the Blob. I remember it has to do with like I think it's like an alien type thing is going on, and then there's yogurt, so it's like an alien yogurt. And I know that sounds crazy because it is.
hmm,
It is
yeah.
kind of crazy. It was the 80s. They were making crazy movies, and we were watching them. Um, but so it's got like a lot of commercials in it, where they show like the stuff. And it's basically just like a carton that kind of looks like ice cream or yogurt kind of carton, but it looks more like
Okay.
ice cream to me. And it's white. The stuff is white, and it looks kind of like yogurt, but like a mixture of yogurt and ice cream in a way. And people are like obsessed with it. They
Okay.
see these ads, they can't help it, they got to eat it. Once they eat a little bit of it, they can't stop eating it. And then the alien takes over and in the form of yogurt, and melts people's faces off.
Oh wow.
That was
Okay. So you
cool.
got like a little Indiana
Uh,
Jones Raiders of the Lost Ark going on
yes.
there.
Oh, it's
Okay.
so. I love it. I love.
I
I
want to
highly
see that.
recommend this movie. Yeah,
Okay.
but it is 80s, so take that into account because it's going to have the 80s effects, which are kind of good, but also a little bit dated.
Yeah.
Um,
The first thing I thought of when you were talking about it was what was that on Futurama? Was it Slurm or like
yeah,
the stuff that everybody was like obsessed with? It ended up being like
I
alien.
I think that's a reference. I'm pretty sure
Yeah,
that's a reference to the stuff.
yeah. And then there was also and then you were talking about it more, and I was thinking about like double or triple stuff Oreos, the stuff,
Oh
because I
yeah,
was like. So I
double
was like,
stuff.
man, that stuff. Like while you're
Oh,
talking, I was like, that stuff is delicious. Like if it tasted anything like Oreo filling, like that sounds amazing.
that's funny because I actually I hate Oreos.
Really?
Yeah, it's weird. Okay, I'm weird. I only like it in like a milkshake. I have
Okay.
an Oreo
S-
or cookies and cream kind of milkshake. I love
Okay.
those. But
Well,
if I'm
cookies
eating
and
like a
cream is
straight
different.
cookie, ugh.
Yeah. I personally, me, Oreos and a nice like glass of milk, like
Yeah.
that hits the spot. I don't do it often because when I do that, I become very gluttonous because I'll eat like a whole sleeve, like a whole row at one sitting. You know, they have
Yeah.
like the 3 rows or whatever.
Uh-huh.
I'll eat a whole row. Like
A
I
whole
will. I
tray.
just not a whole tray, but I could probably go through a tray in a few days. I'm sure if I
Oh
was
man.
left to my own devices.
If you offered me an
Um,
Oreo, I'd probably say no thank you.
and I
Like
would
I
dip it
actually
in
don't
milk and
like
eat
them.
it, and that'd be fine.
Yeah.
So
Well, when I was younger,
I wouldn't be mad.
I dipped them in milk, and I remember I would eat like a couple of them and then I would just be done. Like I
Yeah.
was definitely not gluttonous when it came to Oreos.
Well, that's
However,
a
there are other things.
well. Let me ask you. Actually,
Reese's,
that's a great Reese's. Okay, I was gonna say like, what are you gluttonous for? Would you say as far as food goes?
Reese's,
Like,
and any sour gummy worms, any
okay,
sour type candy like that. especially gummies.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll eat the whole bag. I have definitely eaten the whole bag before.
Okay. I've got, I'm gluttonous like about weird food. Not necessarily weird, but like there's certain things that like if I bring it into the house, like I just keep picking at it. I can't stop.
Mhm.
One thing is I really like fresh mozzarella. Like I don't know
Yeah.
why, but like fresh mozzarella, if I get like a bowl of fresh mozzarella, like that thing is gone in like an hour. I just can't stop. Like just I'll slice a piece off and I'll eat it, and then I'll be like, okay, I'm good. I'll put it in the fridge, and then like I'm up I'm up again like 5 minutes later. Like let me get another piece of that. Like I just can't. It just won't stay in the house. I just go through it.
I've I've heard that there's like a drug or something or chemical in cheese that makes you want to eat more of it or something like that. But I feel like that's in almost all food because almost all food
Yeah,
contains sugar, which is also the same thing. You know, it's like a chemical that taps
yeah.
into your brain and makes you want more and more.
I mean, I'm also like that with seafood. If I lived on the coast, like I would every night, I'd probably have like shrimp or lobster, or I mean, I know a lot of people feel that way, but I just I would say my appetite for seafood would be like insatiable. I would love to almost see how long it would take me for. I would almost like to see how long it would take for me to be like, you know what, I'm good. So I think it'd be like probably over a year. I mean, I could eat seafood like good seafood. I could eat like every
Mm.
day.
Spoken
I
like a
just
true glutton.
I just love it. I mean, seafood's amazing to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's special like snacks that I don't buy a lot. Like for example, the mozzarella or a lot of like meats like prosciutto and stuff like that, which I think would go
Mm.
as also as like the delicacy. But it's like I get some of that. I'm just picking at it. I just want it.
Yeah.
So definitely there. So here's one that I don't know if you've seen it. I've seen it, and I'm not really sure. I guess because it kept sucking things up, but like Nope was on the list.
Nope. Um.
That was that movie. It was
Yeah. I vaguely remember. I saw it right when it came out, and then I never saw it again. I never watched it again.
yeah, it was a Jordan Peele movie.
Yeah. Mhm.
It wasn't bad. I liked it a lot more than what was it that he had those
Us
three movies. Yeah, Us was I didn't like
or
Us.
Get
I wasn't
Out.
into Us.
I liked Get Out.
Get Out was good. Get Out was
Yeah.
really good.
That's my favorite out of the ones. Yeah.
I love Jordan Peele, and I saw Get Out, and I was like, yes, this guy's gonna do it. This guy's gonna be amazing. And then he came out with Us, and I was like, crap, I was really wrong. I didn't see that one coming. And then Nope came out, and I was kind of like,
Nope.
uh, yeah, I was like, I don't get it. And I've said this before on the show, but the thing that bothered me the most about Nope is that all of the parts that he had these like side stories going on that he never elaborated on, and I was more
Yeah.
interested in the side stories than I was the actual story.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really didn't care much for that. I wanted to be more gluttonous about the side stories. Wanted
Mhm.
more. I just wanted like explain this monkey shit to me, like
Like
tell me about that.
like
But
maybe too
anyway,
much was going on.
yeah, maybe he just didn't get a
Yeah.
chance to bring it all together. So I thought it was a little sloppy. But as far as the movie being gluttonous, which is what we're talking about, again, I have to almost go with the Jaws theory here. Like, I mean, I don't know.
Mm.
It was like this alien ship, and like there was, I don't know. I don't think there was really a conscious effort to be gluttonous in that.
Yeah. I think I would have to watch it over again to understand what the the correlation is between gluttony and that movie because right off the bat like just thinking about it what little I remember of that movie I don't really remember getting like a gluttonous type feel from it.
Mhm.
um I could be wrong,
Yeah,
but I don't really see it, but I would have to rewatch it. So
yeah, yeah. Um, yeah. I didn't get a conscious effort of gluttony in that. But I think a lot of people on Reddit were just kind of like thinking about movies that just literally consumed anything, regardless of whether it was a conscious effort or enjoyable or
mhm.
any of kind of the parameters we've talked about. Just it was like,
Wow.
I don't know. It's like, I mean, at that point in time, is like the ocean and Titanic gluttonous? I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of like if you're saying Nope is gluttonous, then I'm thinking the ocean and Titanic is gluttonous. I'm thinking that, you know,
It
I don't
swallows
know.
everything.
Yeah, I mean, it just wants the ships. It just consumes the ship. So I would say probably Nope to Nope. My opinion. So a lot of people are saying 7, which, yes, there's a part where they talk about gluttony. Obviously, the movie's about the sins, so he has an example of gluttony. But I'm going to go ahead and make an argument here that actually, when I really sat and thought about it, because I put a lot of thought into this, obviously we're going to talk about these things, so I wanted to think about them. I don't even think that the gluttony part in that movie was gluttonous because the guy was force fed.
Right.
So it wasn't even his own volition. It wasn't even like him actually consciously being gluttonous. Again,
Yeah.
he was force fed to make an example of him as gluttony, which, as far as the picture to the police, I could see them being like, wow, this is really gluttonous looking. And I get that. But as far as the actual act of it goes, I would say that the sin itself was not fulfilled.
Yeah. That is an extremely good point. I don't quite remember because I did not rewatch that movie recently, but did they did they say anything about him being like the way he was before he was forced? And then maybe the person decided to
Okay.
force him to do it. Because this is
Okay.
what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that he was that way beforehand,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
but the person put the gun to his head to make him die that
Being
way,
gluttony. Yeah.
like die by his sin or whatever I'm trying to
Okay.
say. Yeah.
All right. Well, I feel kind of owned in this conversation because I think you're right. And I do feel like now that was gluttonous. He used the guy as to be the example of gluttony because the guy was gluttonous.
Yeah.
I see that, and honestly, you won that debate.
That one.
However, I do think that the
Yes.
actual way he died was forced,
True.
and the actual way he died was not as gluttonous as the way that he lived.
Yeah.
With that being
So still a
said,
good point.
people using movies as an example of gluttony, I think that 7 is also a little underreaching, if you will, because it's literally like 5 minutes of that movie.
Yeah, it was a really short part.
Yeah,
Even
it
though I
wasn't.
didn't rewatch the whole movie, I did watch the clip, like I don't know how many minutes it was, maybe 15, maybe less,
Yeah,
of that part.
it
Yeah,
wasn't very long. So I mean, it's like that's really not what the movie was
so
about.
short.
It was a concept in the movie. It was a part of the movie. It was like a slice of the pie, but not the whole pie. So I'm gonna actually say kinda.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like half,
Um,
half credit or
so
something.
I didn't get a chance to watch the whole movie, but a movie that I do feel falls very much under the gluttonous theme is The Platform.
Yeah, I did watch
Um,
that.
that I watched a good part of that movie. I thought it was a really interesting idea. I thought it was really
Mhm.
cool. I actually
Great
really
concept.
enjoyed it. I need to finish it, quite honestly, but I
Oh, you didn't
definitely
finish
think
it?
no, I didn't get a chance to. I got
Ooh,
maybe halfway through. I got distracted, and I think I forgot to go back to it.
yeah.
I've got a lot of partially watched things on my Netflix, Hulu, and
Mhm.
I'll start a movie and be like, oh, this is really good. And sometimes I even love it, but I just forget to go back to it.
Oh yeah.
Um,
I've done that before too. I call it my very long intermission. Long
yeah.
intermission.
And then sometimes you go back and
Days
you're like, I just
later.
gotta, yeah. And then you press play, and then you're like, you know what? Actually, I just gotta start over. It's been too long.
Sometimes I just
So
rewind it just like a little bit, just to
yeah,
catch that last part, that I
yeah.
probably forgot, and then I just continue watching it.
I mean, I don't know. I watch so much stuff though that like sometimes I totally just lose.
Yeah,
I mean,
lose track of it.
and there's nothing in my life that is more hell than remembering like a scene from a movie that I really liked and trying to figure out what movie it was
Yeah.
because I've just seen so many things and a lot of stuff I watch. I like similar things like
Mhm.
as you call them, like Jake movies. I'm like it's like if I wanted to be like, what is that movie where they're out in the woods and they got attacked by like the strangers? It's like crap. That's like
That's
fifty
so
percent of
many.
what I watch. Like, or what was that shark movie where they did? It's like okay, I've seen
Mm.
every shark movie ever, so take a pick.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I mean it's just like that. But the platform was really cool concept. I really
Mhm.
liked the fact that it was kind of started at the top, goes to the bottom. You have the
Oh,
you
and then
know
it
the
moves. Like
yeah
sometimes you're at the top, sometimes you're at the bottom. It's
yeah,
crazy.
and it's kind of really depending on the uh, generosity, I guess, of everybody else.
Yeah.
The ability to be able to share and kind of just take your share, if you will.
Yeah.
Um, But yeah, I would.
Sorry.
Sorry, no, I was just gonna say I would say that that one's a yes for me. But
Oh yes,
go ahead.
100% yes for me as well.
Yeah,
My question is, have you seen the second one? You probably haven't because you didn't finish the first.
I'm
There's a
not.
second one.
I'm gonna tell you right now. I didn't know there's a second one.
Yeah, I didn't either until like 2, 3 days ago.
Okay, did you watch
Yeah,
it?
I did.
Is it
Yeah,
as good?
it's as well. It's not quite as good as the first one, but it's still good for sure.
Is it very
Um,
different or very similar?
it's very similar. But I feel like especially the second one had like so much dialogue and like okay, this is the thing. I was watching it and like I would look away for like a second. Maybe I'll look at the cat or take a bite of food or something. I would miss like some of the dialogue or what's going on in the scene. And all of a sudden I have absolutely no idea like what's going
Ah,
on in the
shit.
movie.
I hate that. I
Yeah.
hate that in a
Well,
movie. I hate
that's
when
in the
you're like,
second one for
I
sure.
hate, I hate when you literally do almost nothing and you're like, but
Yes.
I lost it. Like, what's happening?
You're going to lose it in the second one
Yeah, I
with a
hate that.
quickness.
I I need to watch it with somebody and like pause it and be like, wait, what the
Yeah.
hell's going on? Like,
Yeah, use that
what's
pause button.
happening? You know.
Don't use the bathroom or
Um,
anything.
so
Don't
like,
take a bite of food.
so literally just oh shoot.
Yes,
So
focus. You need
literally just tunnel vision, and if
yes.
you like literally need to like even do this, like pause,
Yes.
and then
Don't even
okay,
blink. Don't blink.
no blinking. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because like I
Whew.
honestly
Sounds
looked
tough.
up and like all of a sudden this is going to sound wacky. I'm not really going to spoil very much. But for real, I still don't know what happened because I didn't rewind it. I looked up for like, I mean, I looked down for like a second and looked up, and all of a sudden there was anti gravity. All of a sudden, it's like, what?
That's
How?
weird.
What happened? I should have
Yeah.
rewound it to find out what happened, but it happened so fast.
Yeah.
There wasn't anything to lead up to. I don't know. It was
And
crazy.
some of those movies move so fast and have so much in them. You're like,
Yes.
okay, like
Yes.
anyway.
I feel like it's also true for the first one, but I feel like the second one it's even more true. You have to like really, really, really pay attention.
That's gonna be tough for me. I'm gonna have to get out my props from Clockwork Orange and just like
Yeah. Force your eyes open.
yeah, just watch it.
Good
So
reference.
I'd say yes with that one. Now this one here, I have sort of it's interesting. It's sort of a little bit of a roller coaster of thought here, but Thinner.
hmm
Okay, have you seen
it,
Thinner?
it's been so long. I also read the book way long time ago. Um, I well, I mean, I get that it has the fact that he's larger in the beginning, and then of course he gets thinner, but he can still eat like whatever he wants. So I do remember the part where he's like eating whatever he wants.
Yeah,
Because now he's not going to gain weight from it, so he's just
he's
like
losing
gorging
weight.
himself.
Yeah,
Yeah, right. He is losing weight, um, to the point of almost death. Um, but and of course I remember the pie at the end. But that is something different. It's
yeah,
not really like
yeah.
gluttony.
No, that's I love. So I'm a huge Stephen King fan. I don't get to read
Yeah.
as much as I get to watch the movies. I love the movies. And I love that movie. I've seen that movie multiple times. And the reason I said it's a little bit of a roller coaster of thought for me is because he's very gluttonous in the beginning. He's a big guy. He's very, and then they curse him, and thinner. And okay, so he starts losing weight no matter what he eats, and then he's gorging himself, like you said, and then he's getting thinner and thinner and thinner.
Yeah.
And most people would think that's like you didn't curse me, you kind of did me a favor, because I would love to just eat and lose weight. That'd be great. But the
But
whole point is eventually he's
the
gonna
point of
like
death.
disappear. Like he's gonna just basically starve to death.
Yeah.
Even though he's eating everything. So
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely think there's themes of gluttony there, but it's almost interesting because
Yeah.
it's almost like the opposite of, in a way, it's the opposite, but it is gluttonous. It's gluttonous, but he's still. I mean, if like somebody was really skinny and they're like, thicker, and then they just started gaining all kinds of weight because they were eating all this stuff, I feel like it'd be a more gluttonous theme. But I get the theme of gluttony, and I will say that it does
Yeah.
have a theme of gluttony.
Yeah, it does. I agree.
So, for sure. Next on my list here is Ravenous.
Haven't seen it.
You should see that. It's really, really good.
I've had other people recommend it to me, but I still haven't seen it.
So Ravenous is under the idea that I think we discussed it during a cannibal episode. Because it's basically what it comes down to is once you have the taste of human flesh and realize the strength and the ability that it gives you, because eating a person in that world or that universe gives you their strength and their it appears that you just kind of gain their essence, if you will, their strength, their whatever.
Question.
Yeah.
Does it is it where you gain like certain abilities or you just gain like their strength? As in like their muscle strength? Or
It seems to me like in the movie, if you eat somebody, you become more physically strong. It
okay.
has healing properties. You
Oh.
become more, you have more endurance, if you will. That kind of thing. You're more powerful, you're stronger. You're
Yeah.
maybe faster. You just kind of almost it's almost like leveling up or something, if you will, like
Yeah.
in a video game. And that's sort of the theme of that one, which I like Ravenous. I think it's a great movie.
Oh, that would be so cool in a video game where
It's like
you would
leveling
like
up when you eat people
eat, yeah, and you would gain their strength in a video game. They should
in
do
a video
that.
game. We should do it. We literally have zero experience making video games, and we should just right now put all of our effort in our lives to making that
No.
and hope it happens.
No, someone's gonna steal that idea. That's cool.
I mean, if somebody knows how to make a video game, they could steal it and come out with it 15 years before we do. So,
Yeah.
quite honestly, go for it if you're out there listening and you can make video games. But just maybe throw us like at least a nod or something.
It's probably
Uh,
already been done too.
yeah, probably. I don't know. I don't really play video games. You'd know more than I would. But yeah, as far as the theme in that goes, I would say yeah, but it's not really necessarily. I don't know how it really fit though, because I mean, you do want to eat more people. You
Mhm.
are more attracted to the idea of eating people, but it didn't really seem like in that movie necessarily. Well, the main guy, um, and I can't remember who played him right now, but he was really good. Yeah, so I would say that the main guy was actually like going around trying to find people he could kill to eat. So he was, kind of gluttonous in the fact that he wanted more.
Yeah.
But it wasn't really like an uncontrollable, insatiable hunger, I don't think, necessarily. Um, I don't know, but I could see a gluttonous tone there, so I'm gonna say yes, but I don't know if it's necessarily as strong as like Fresh or one of those ones like that where I would just be like, yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. The last one, and then there's a whole like extra set here of things that we may talk about if we have a minute. But the last one on the list of the ones that people listed the most was Willy Wonka, which we kind of already
Yeah.
discussed. But just kind of the kids being so selfish and greedy and gluttonous about the candy, in particular, the couple you already had mentioned.
Yeah.
Um,
The chocolate fountain with Augustus.
yeah, and then those kids sucked. I would have probably killed them too.
Yeah, a lot of them were like really, really annoying.
I agree. I don't know, man. I don't even think I don't even think Charlie was necessarily like the best person in the world. But that's another whole story there.
Why would you say that?
I
Or
don't
maybe we
know. I
shouldn't
mean,
discuss it on this
yeah, we won't
particular
discuss it this
episode.
time. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
whole thing. It's a whole thing.
Oh.
We are close to an hour, so I did want to hear what you had that wasn't on my list.
Let's see. What's not on your list? Well, some people, or at least it was on some lists that I looked up online, said Delicatessen, but I honestly don't remember Delicatessen. I watched it like 25 years ago, I think. So I don't recall, but that is on people's lists.
Yeah.
Have you watched that ever?
I
'Cause I don't
think I
hardly remember it.
have. I think I have, but I don't think it was very
Was it
memorable
25 years ago?
for me. Yeah, I mean, it's not something
Yeah.
I can necessarily tell you a lot about.
Right. Same.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
remember it was beautiful, like the shot beautifully, like the
shot
cinematography.
beautifully.
The cinematography is good. I remember that. That's literally all I remember.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I don't have much. I don't have much.
Oh.
I'm gonna have to see it.
There's also another movie which I watched probably 20 years ago, called The Cook, the Thief, His Wife, and Her Lover.
There was a couple
Um,
people that mentioned that one.
they
I
did?
did see
Yeah.
that up there. Yeah.
Yeah. That one I do remember Gluttony for sure. I also remember an incredible set design, uh, and just crazy colors. Like I remember the bathroom is like super white, and then everything else in the movie, like the big banquet hall or whatever, is very very red.
Mm.
And they are all eating like gluttons.
Mm.
There is sex involved. I want to say there actually might be more of the seven deadly sins in that besides gluttony, or maybe it was gluttonous sex. Could be.
Well, you said
Um,
glutton. Well, yeah. I mean, they all, like I said, they're kind of interchangeable. I mean,
right.
you
That would
know,
fit exactly what you were talking about. I
I
think this
think
movie
I
would.
think the word you said, insatiable, kind of leads
Hmm.
to any of it. If any of those things are insatiable, like lust, for example. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're just constantly just on a just rampage to get off, I mean, I would say that's very gluttonous.
Right.
You know, um, that movie in particular, also one that I don't have a whole lot to add on. I'm aware of that movie, but I just don't have a lot on it. I just
Yeah.
don't have
No, I
much to
understand.
say. Yeah.
It's been a long time for me as well. I don't remember specifics, but I definitely remember, like the feel of it. It was definitely gluttonous.
Yeah.
Definitely food was involved, definitely sex.
Food, sex, and
Gorgeous set
loving.
design, and
I
that's
mean,
all I remember.
sounds like a great movie. I mean, I'm gonna have to
Yeah,
go back.
yeah. Um, so also it's not the whole movie, but Monty Python, The Meaning of Life,
Okay.
has different skits because it's, that kind of movie where it has like a whole bunch of like different skits. And if you've seen
Yeah.
any Monty Python movies, you know what I mean.
Holy Grail is one of my
Different
favorite
stories.
comedies of all time. So
Nice. Well,
it's on
then
my
you've
top 10.
probably seen The Meaning of Life.
I have seen The
Yeah.
Meaning of Life, and I know what scene you're talking about.
Yes. I should hope so. I sent it to the group chat.
You did send that to me and
Yeah.
refreshed me on it, but I had seen it before.
Yes.
Um, yeah. I think
Yeah.
that probably the most disturbing thing about that scene, if the viewers have seen it, is just the amount of vomit. This is
I
very
was laughing the
vomitous.
whole time.
Just everywhere. I mean,
Oh my gosh. I
very
loved
interesting
it.
scene, though. Very interesting scene. That I could see that being horrific to some people. It is technically a comedy, but I could see that particular scene especially being pretty horrific.
I'm
Um,
just thinking about it and I can't stop laughing. Um, I have a sick sense of humor
yeah,
sometimes.
yeah. Well,
A lot of the time.
that's why we're friends, Jen. Um, if people could only hear the things we say when we're not recording, especially some of the stuff I come up with.
Uh,
Anyway,
um,
what else
oh,
you got?
sorry. Yeah. There is
Or
also. Oh, go ahead. Were
no,
you
no,
gonna
no,
say something?
no, no, no. I got nothing. Go ahead.
Oh, so there's that small part of Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5,
Okay.
um, which is one of the things that I think of when I think of gluttony. There's several, The Meaning of Life is certainly
Yeah.
one that comes to my mind. Seven also, immediately just comes to mind.
Yeah.
And Willy Wonka, of course.
Of course.
But Nightmare on Elm Street, I grew up watching those movies. I really like Nightmare on Elm Street movies, even the corny, cheesy ones, which 5 is kind of cheesy and corny.
Oh, they're all,
Um,
in my opinion, they're all very. Like I always
yeah,
said, Freddy
but
Krueger.
some of them are
Yeah,
more corny and cheesy.
I've always said that one thing that I think is almost like unwatchable to me about the Nightmare on Elm Street movies is like Freddy Krueger is like the epitome of bad dad jokes. Like just always just like all these
It's his catchphrases.
stupid puns and ridiculous like I don't know. the guy's corny as shit to me, honestly, just
Yeah.
straight up.
Well, I kind of
But
like it.
yeah, well, you like your corn, so
Yeah, I do. I like it when I vomit corn too.
yeah, yeah,
Oh, I don't remember eating corn.
yeah. Well, that's how I feel when I take a shit after I eat corn. But anyway, so tell us about the scene a little bit. What is Gluttonous about it?
Well, I can't remember the character's name, but I know it's a girl and she's like very rich. You know, she has like a rich family. She has a bad relationship with her mother because her mother's always shaming her, like when she's, gaining weight and doesn't want her to eat too much, that kind of thing. So she has bulimia. So there's like an eating disorder involved. And so, Freddie comes along, and of course, he feeds into that. Oh, that I didn't even mean to make that pun, but it was too late. Yeah. And he does actually like literally like feed her. He force feeds
Yeah.
her. He force feeds her with his, glove, his knives. Um, and makes her cheeks get all fat. And I had to rewatch that scene because for some reason I thought that she exploded because I think I see that in so many other movies and I saw it in like, The Meaning of Life. So for some reason it had like I don't know, congealed or something like in my brain. That also happened to her, but I was wrong. It doesn't. She doesn't explode. Uh, but she does like kind of choke and dies. And her mother is like angry at her at first because they're having like this big party, and she's like choking, and she's making like this weird like gesture when she's choking. Instead of concern, you can see that her mother is like upset because she's embarrassing her. And then when she drops down and falls onto the table, then the mother is like, "Oh my God," like
Yeah.
concerned all of a sudden. And I was like, "Wow." I
Especially
mean,
so many
for a
people.
corny, cheesy movie, I thought that was, kind of good.
Her mother probably should have died.
Yeah,
Scumbag.
yeah.
Anyway, yeah. No, I could definitely see that as being a symbol of gluttony for sure. Once again,
Also forced gluttony, though.
forced gluttony, like
Yeah,
seven.
yeah.
But
Half
the
credit.
but the premise before,
Hmm.
I don't know
Well,
though, man. Like,
she would binge eat.
yeah, she
But
should
she
binge
has the
eat.
eating
And,
disorder, so
yeah,
yeah.
and that's one of the things, man. Is like a lot of the parents and shit with that kind of stuff. It's like, I don't know if I can. You don't see those parents being like, "Let's get a treadmill and run together," you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can exercise to excess.
Yeah, that would probably also be gluttonous.
Hmm.
You do
It would be a
anything to
form. It would be
excess.
a form of gluttony, I think.
What I'm wondering is what really happens to somebody when they overeat? Like when they eat and eat and eat, does they actually blow up? Or
That's a
does their
good
stomach just
question.
blow up inside of them? Or I'm gonna look that up. I'll include that in the edit.
Yeah.
Anyway,
When is too much too much? To find out, we crammed every world 2 and 60 more levels. Kicks, all served up with the latest
No more.
bonus level.
do you have any other?
Oh, any other movies? Yes, I do. Uh, They Live. I have not seen that one in
Consumerism.
a while, but it's great. Yes, consumerism.
Consumerism for
But that is
sure.
a great movie, one of my favorites from back in the day. Um, Definitely consumerism in that. I mean, you see, when he puts on the glasses and he sees what's really going on. Consume, consume, consume. And I mean, it's still relevant today,
Yeah,
maybe even more so.
maybe even more so.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that one. Um, that's a good pick.
Yeah. Remember how I said that I would probably think of it later?
Yeah,
Can I talk about it just real quick? It'll be
go
quick,
ahead.
promise.
Uh-huh.
So I did recently watch The Substance,
Oh
and
yeah,
there is a little bit of gluttony in that movie as well.
and that I've actually got that movie on order. I'm waiting for it.
Yay.
I want to see it because I feel like that's something I'll just say this about that movie. I've got a friend who is very unaffected by things. He jokes around about it, but it may be true that he's dead inside. And he said that that is like the most disturbing movie he's seen in a long time.
Ooh,
And
yeah.
he said it was actually disturbing to him, which I want to see what is disturbing to a guy that I would agree with is dead inside.
Yeah.
So
There were a
quite
few
quite
parts
curious.
that I would agree with that. There were a few parts where I was a little squeamish, and it does take a lot to get me squeamish as well. Um, there are teeth stuff. You know what I mean? There are
Yeah.
also teeth stuff, and that's one of the things that bothers me. We talked about that on one of the other episode. Um, yeah, teeth stuff.
Is there genital mutilation? Because that's where I draw the line. Like I'm good with
Mm,
gore. I can watch most
not
things, doesn't
exactly.
bother me at all. But like, and I've said that on other shows, genital mutilation is what it's hard for me.
Yeah, I don't
That's,
want to give away too much,
yeah,
but not
don't ruin it for
exactly.
me.
Not
Okay.
exactly mutilation. Maybe mutation.
Genital mutation. That might be
Maybe.
interesting.
I mean,
I need to
kind
see how I
of.
feel about that. I need to
Kind
see how I
of.
feel
But you'll
about it.
see when you watch it. I do really want
Yeah.
to talk about it. So when you watch it, let me know, and maybe we can do
Oh
like an
yeah.
episode on it.
If they don't see it, we'll do a sideshow
Awesome.
of us because I want to discuss it as well.
You got to
So
tell
this
me
is
what you think of the end,
well, yeah, I'm definitely.
because it's
And if
it's
Steve watches
divisive.
it, if
Like,
Steve's on the show and he watches it, we'll talk about it first.
yeah.
Because if anybody hasn't watched the show enough, the joke is Steve literally like we're like let's talk about a movie, and he's like, well, the end of it, blah blah blah, and it's like, fuck, show's over. Cool, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, so one redditor brought up an interesting topic, and I was curious about your take on this. This is interesting, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. But he brought up the argument that basically all zombie movies are gluttonous,
Okay. Well,
based
yeah. They're
on
very
the
one-track
compulsion to
mind.
gorge
Yeah.
on living flesh.
They're trying to acquire life in a sense because they're, brains. They're attracted to life.
Brains.
So, I mean, yeah, I totally like get that. They're like overindulging on
It is
life.
overindulgent and it is insatiable need, want.
Yeah.
It's pretty much all they do.
Yeah.
Um,
Very one track.
yeah, they're definitely can't consume enough human flesh, or in some cases, brains.
Right.
Um, and I would probably agree with that. And I do think it's an interesting idea because it's humans, but I'm still not sure about the conscious thought. I wonder if when you become a zombie, if that becomes just nature, kind of like a bear or a shark. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
I really feel like to me, part of the question or a question that I would pose to people, and I would love comments on this if anybody's watched this far, is is gluttony without the conscious idea or thought?
Hmm.
I would love to know what people have to say about that or how people feel about that because that's really where I kind of was a little confused about everything. You know,
Hmm.
using the bear example, using the shark example, like if a zombie basically becomes brain dead in a way or becomes tunnel visioned or that becomes their nature, that becomes their
Instinct.
instinct, is it still gluttonous? Is it how much decision, how much actual decisiveness goes into being gluttonous, I think is kind of what I'm trying to ask.
Yeah.
Does there need to be decisiveness? I mean, can just anything that consumes anything be gluttonous regardless of whether it has intention or not?
Hmm. Good question.
So I would
So,
love for somebody to comment on that. I would love to see what somebody has to say about that because I am very interested in hearing or reading about that from somebody else's opinion.
yeah. And
Um,
since you said that, it's made me think, oh yeah, then we have Dawn of the Dead, and that would be consumerism as well, kinda.
yeah,
Cause
yeah.
yeah, the whole mall thing,
End up in the mall, and
and the
you know,
zombies, of course, cause
but I
you
think
just
they're
made
just
that
bored
point.
in the mall. I mean, it's not like they were like
Yeah.
trying to take everything. They were just kind of bored. So they were like using the video camera to like watch
Yeah.
themselves screw and stuff. Um, okay. So the two movies I want to bring up, and I wanted to grab them so I could talk a little bit more about them and kind of tell you who's in them and what they're about. But so with Thanksgiving coming up, I want to talk about two movies because I'm always looking for, a lot of people are always looking for holiday themed movies,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
So people are always like, Thanksgiving, I want to watch a horror movie. What horror movies are there for Thanksgiving?
Mhm.
Um, Valentine's Day, all that stuff. So, two movies that I wanted to kind of recommend that I've seen recently is first of all, we got Black Friday.
Mhm.
Here we go, kind of out of the. So we have Black Friday, and Black Friday is really interesting. So basically, what it comes down to is all these people work at the store, and it's got Devon Sawa on it as an adult, which is interesting because I don't know about you, but I always remember him as a child actor,
Yeah.
and you get to see him all
Or
grown up.
teenager. Yeah. Well, or early 20s, like
Yeah,
Idle Hands, was the early 20s.
exactly. Yeah, and it's got Bruce Campbell in it,
Yay, Bruce
so
Campbell.
everybody loves Bruce Campbell. So the whole like point of this movie is all these people work at this store, and of course they got like their own little dramas and stuff going on, this and that. But pretty much what happens is they end up kind of getting attacked by like zombies. Basically, is kind of what's going on. People start becoming zombies. So it's kind of a zombie movie, but it's really interesting because it is revolving around Black Friday, them getting the store ready for Black Friday and everything. It's getting that whole vibe, the whole
Yeah.
shopping consumer vibe, and just kind of people's want and need for things. So, um, of course, with Bruce Campbell in it, it's not the most serious horror movie ever, but it's a lot of fun, and it is a horror movie. So, Black Friday, I think, is really interesting. It's a good watch. I enjoyed it. I thought there's some parts that were pretty funny. It was pretty entertaining to me. The second movie, and I'm sure a lot of people have heard about this. It's a newer movie, and it's really fits our where we're going here. So Thanksgiving. All right. So Thanksgiving is Eli Roth film. I don't know about everybody else, but I've always kind of been an Eli Roth fan. I enjoy Eli Roth. And this movie here is really good. Also, it has basically a lot to do with Black Friday. It's really got like almost like a Bloody Valentine Day or Bloody Valentine feel to me, as far as like the kind of disaster happens, there becomes a killer, who's the killer, what's going on, kind of
Mhm.
vibe. Really interesting. I thought it was, it was also kind of fun, but a lot more serious than Black Friday at the same time. And it's just a pretty good kind of killer slasher movie. And Thanksgiving themed, Black Friday themed, and yeah, so those are two movies. If you're looking for recommendations or picks to watch for this particular holiday coming up, I would definitely say that the two of those are worth a watch.
Nice. I haven't seen either
Um,
one of those.
those are both pretty good movies, Jen. I'd recommend you watch them because
Yeah.
you wanna stick with the. I don't know about you, but I do like sticking with holiday themed horror movies and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to collect like the ultimate collection because I'm a collector. So I'm a gluttonous collector of holiday horror movies. So I can always have my favorites.
Yeah.
Um, and very enjoyable. So
Mhm.
I've got a lot of really good Christmas horror movies. I've really been working on my collection with that, and I'm hoping by the time we get near Christmas, I'm maybe going to be able to do kind of a top 10, top 5 sort of deal of, in my
Oh,
opinion, what are the
cool.
greatest Christmas horror movies.
So, should we each do like a top 10? Of like our top
Yeah, I
10
mean, we
or
can if you guys have enough. I
yeah.
mean, I know that
I have a
they're,
whole list I just made
yeah,
of
they're
ones that I've seen and ones I haven't seen yet. Yeah.
yeah. Well, you and I may be able to make a top 10. Um, I was gonna say, well, honestly, I'm not trying to say whatever. I mean, there's certain movies that are your movies, my movies, Liza movies, whatever. I don't know if Liza, Rob, and Steve would be able to put together a top 10 list because I just don't know if they really get as into the themed movies as you and I do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that'd be fun if we all wanted to at least come with, at least a top three, maybe in our case, a top five or more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've certainly got a list for that. I think that's something that'll be really fun to look forward to in an upcoming episode for
Yeah.
sure.
I think we should do it.
Um, so, and we also are going to have a movie or two to talk about because we will be doing our newly annual Psycho Opinion Christmas party where we'll be watching a movie and hopefully we'll be able to jump on and discuss what we watched and what we thought about it after. Maybe not that day, but in close, succession.
If you do end up watching Platform 2, please let me know if you think that is a sequel or a prequel. Because once you watch it, you'll understand why I've asked that question.
Okay. Okay.
I know we're not really going to go into that, and I don't want to because you haven't seen it yet.
Yeah,
But
I'm gonna try to though. I'm gonna try to.
yeah, like finish the first one and watch the second one because you'll need to watch the first one to understand. Because I'm still a little confused myself, and maybe it's because I looked away a couple of times.
Maybe it's one of
But
those movies you have to watch like 3 or 4 times to really.
yes, maybe. Um, I have some theories. Maybe we can go over them maybe at a later date.
Yeah,
But
I'd love to.
yeah. Um, but you'll see what I mean if you watch it. Like why I would be confused on whether or not it's a prequel or a sequel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if we are rewinding for a minute and you brought up the menu, I did want to talk a little bit more about that because I actually do think that's a great movie. I really liked the menu. I thought it was totally different than what I thought it was going to be when I first put it in. I can't really say necessarily what I thought it was going to be because I wasn't really sure, but I thought it'd have something to do with cannibalism, quite frankly, when I first put it in. I just was like, oh,
I
it's
mean,
got something to do with.
not really. Yeah.
I was like, it has something to do. It has to have something to do with cannibalism. I don't know. I mean, I was just thinking a lot of those movies that come out lately, like do, like Fresh and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that movie very much depicted, and I kind of wanted to point that out because I was thinking about that and didn't say it earlier. But when we were talking about gluttony and we were talking about the finer things, the delicacies, those kinds of things, meticulously put together food. The menu covered all of that. Like, if anything, that was a super gluttonous movie, maybe the most gluttonous movie I've seen in that respect. In the
Right.
respect of like the people wanting to spend all that money and have that, and interestingly enough about it, I love the fact that like the chef was over it. Like I love the fact that Ralph Fiennes' his character, the kind of the Gordon Ramsay of the menu, if you will, has just like had enough, and he does what he does, and I'm not going to ruin that. This isn't going to be a spoiler, but I thought that was very well done to see people gluttonous in that way and have like the tables turn,
Yes.
like kind of super good movie, very well done, very interesting. I actually really enjoy that movie a lot.
Yeah, me too.
I've already seen it a couple times. It's something that I go back to.
Yeah.
So
It's a good one.
I just wanted to add that because it's interesting because when I broke down gluttony in the beginning and kind of the different facets of it, that movie just did so well how they deal with that one aspect, I guess, of gluttony, not the overeating, but the exaggerated eating as far as the expensive tastes, I guess,
Like the decadence or something.
the decadence, So yeah, I thought that was worth bringing up. Since you rewound, I decided to rewind a little myself.
Yeah.
So anyway, With that being said, I really appreciate you being on, and I definitely appreciate you coming up with this idea because I think this was a great topic for Thanksgiving coming up. And with that being
And all the
said,
shopping.
the shopping, the consumerism,
Yeah.
and I did Black Friday one time, and I'll never do it again. And it's earlier every year. That's the thing is every year, like pretty soon it's gonna be like Black Thursday. Then it's gonna be like Black Wednesday, Black Week. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
it's insane. It's like
Like
it goes too far.
like right after you eat the turkey, go shopping.
Yeah, and that's crazy to me. And I mean, a lot of families, and I've talked to a lot of people. A lot of families sit around and they look at all the brochures while they're eating
Yep.
Thanksgiving dinner.
Yep.
You know, they're sitting here like, yeah, but look, Aunt Gertrude, they got this TV at Best Buy, and it's like we better get there at, 5 o'clock. Everybody finish eating because if we don't get there, we're gonna be 15th in line, and they only have 14. Like it's insane. People are absolutely insane. And I will say this, and I said this today to somebody that I went one year and I did get a TV. I got the TV cheaper. It was a good deal.
Yeah.
TV was originally something like 300. I think I got it for something like 130 or $40.
Nice.
In retrospect, I would have paid $400 for that TV to not do that.
Right.
To not stand there
It's not
for
worth it.
hours and wait for it. It wasn't worth it. It really wasn't. It's I would rather pay more money and not do that than not stand there and not be around a bunch of assholes talking about stupid shit while I'm waiting for 15 hours for $100 of discount on a TV. It's just not worth it.
Yeah.
I would rather spend my time with my family, and quite frankly, I think that most people should really consider that. I think that the only way that this is ever going to slow down or stop is when people actually understand that family and time together is more important, and that you shouldn't rush out for these things. However, if you did do that, the Walmarts and Targets and all those powers that be are only going to make better deals so that you will go back out, and we just keep falling for it. And I get it. I understand. People are on a budget. People want to get somebody a really nice thing for Christmas. That $100 means a lot to them. I understand. I get it all. But like, what happened to just the important things in life? The truly important things in life: being together, spending time with family. I mean, those things should be more valuable than a cheaper bicycle or TV. But anyway, I'm gonna get off my soapbox about it and just say that beyond my opinion on consumerism and Black Friday, I really do, from the bottom of my heart, wish everybody that's listening has a fantastic Thanksgiving and holiday season, and that you do get to spend time with your loved ones, and that it's just magical.